I got a problem. I'm experiencing a bit of a culture shock when it comes to Monster Hunter. Let's get good. Hello everybody, I am Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming, and after dabbling my toe into Monster Hunter previously, I decided to pretty much swan dive into the franchise right before Wild comes out. And my goal was to beat the main story of World. I didn't think I would actually manage to get through Iceborne itself, but I wanted to at least beat World, and I'm getting closer there. I have finally gotten into high rank, well, hunts. And I still love the game. However, veterans of Monster Hunter will be perfectly cognizant that Monster Hunter as a game and as a series plays very differently to pretty much everything else that is out there, but especially the games that I've played previously. My bread and butter mostly is like FPS games, MMORPGs, JRPGs, stuff like that. The pacing to Monster Hunter is completely different to pretty much everything that I've played before, but also its priority list, where the priority isn't necessarily on the fight itself, is how you prepare and react to that fight. It's a test of patience. And the thing I've kind of known for a while, but is especially clear playing Monster Hunter, is that I think it's safe to say when I'm playing a game, patience isn't my strong suit. And if you've been watching my streams of me playing Monster Hunter, that will be really abundant, right? But I want to make something clear. It's not a problem with the game. This is something that I'm trying to work on and overcome when it comes to Monster Hunter, because I do genuinely love this game and want to keep playing. But in the words of Kenny Rogers, if you want to play the Game Boy, you gotta learn to play it right. When I'm playing Monster Hunter, my mindset is kill the monster, and I want to do that as fast and efficiently as humanly possible. So I try and stay at areas of the monster where it's not likely to hit me, and try and unload on the thing, right? That's normally my goal, and it's kind of worked up to now. I run into issue every now and then, but I do manage to get through these fights. But it's not really the way to play Monster Hunter now, is it? There's a lot of prep work that can be done before a fight and even during it. It's not just stopping off at the local Palico Cafe and munching down on giant slabs of meat. But it's not just a matter of eating before, you go into a fight. If you die within that fight, you're supposed to eat afterwards to recoup your stamina and I think your health, but I haven't figured that one out yet. But for me, I tunnel vision. I'm just like, get me to the fight. I want to fight it again. It's close to death. I can smell it. I can feel it. I want to get back in there. I want to beat it up. And normally on stream, if you watch, it's also followed with copious amounts of cussing, but we're going to ignore that. But that's the priority of Monster Hunter. And that's something that I'm really coming to understand and kind of appreciate about Monster Hunter. It's not about lightning fast reflexes. And this may sound antithetical to Monster Hunter, and it won't make complete sense immediately, but let me cook with this. It's not even necessarily about learning the fight. That's definitely an element to it, do not get me wrong, but it's about having the patience to learn the fight, and the patience to hold yourself back, to capitalize on these big moments, but also having the patience to be slow enough to create those moments to capitalize with. One of the things I really started to notice about the pace of a fight is that early on, it's hard for me to stun or stagger a monster. So early on, I'm largely reacting to what the fight is doing and getting hits in when I can. But because I overextend a lot and try to go for my big heavy hitting combos, I get wrecked. It's one of my biggest crippling flaws, not with the quality of the game or anything. The game is fine. It's how I'm playing it. But as I pump more damage into the fight, possibly break some things off or wound the monster, all of a sudden, because I play Switch Axe, the monster I tend to find starts to stagger and stun a lot more and more frequently, allowing me to really capitalize on those moments in time to put in a bunch of big damage. But even then, I can overextend, and then when the monster reorients itself, I get wrecked. Most of the time, when I'm fighting a monster in this game, it then becomes a race. Do I die enough, or does my weapon do enough damage to kill the monster before I trip up enough and overextend too much and fail? If you want to learn to play the game, you gotta learn to play it right. I think the biggest weakness that I'm having right now is that I'm approaching Monster Hunter like it's a FromSoft game, when it's fundamentally not. The pacing and the priority is completely different. It's not about about necessarily getting back into the fight as quickly as humanly possible, unless I'm on an expedition and the thing says it's gonna leave the locale. It's about properly identifying moments in time where I can actually capitalize and then utilize my long combos that I get animation locked in, finding those safe points to utilize them for big heavy hitting damage, and elsewise playing it safe, because the actual act of getting out of trouble or dodging a mechanic is not that hard in this game, at least for the monsters that I fought so far. Most of the time they are really telegraphed, and you have plenty of time to dodge roll out of the way or stuff like that, but if you overextend like I have a habit of doing, and you get animation locked in a giant combo, before you can even move, you have to put your weapon away if you want to move at a decent pace. And that takes time, and you probably, or I will, probably get hit, and some of these fights, like an Anjanath in high rank, will just one-tap me with a charge. And that's on me because I overextended there, because I can't react and I can't move as fast as I would ordinarily feel that I should in a game like this. But Monster Hunter is not like a game that I've played before. There's a method to its madness, and big fans of Monster Hunter will know exactly what I'm talking about in regards to how every element of this game is constructed in such a way to add to the overall pacing of the game. It is meant to be slow, it is meant to be methodical, it is meant to be like this. You are just a guy. You're not some grand mage or sorcerer or anything like that. You're just a guy with a weapon going up against these larger-than-life monsters that can shape the very geology of the locale. Sometimes quite literally. Hello, Zora Magdaros. Like, these monsters manipulate lightning or fire. You're fighting wyverns and dragons, oh my. These giant things, and they have aura, they have impact. If you get hit by these things even lightly, you're going to feel that because it's such a giant size disadvantage. These things mean business. And if you don't give the monster proper respect, you're going to get wrecked. And the weapons that at least I use with the switch axe are giant. They're heavy. I can't just run at full speed with this thing, but I need this weapon to really punish the enemy. It's a delicate balance. Are there mechanics that still annoy me and will still continue to annoy me? Yes. Hello, Roars. Or like having to like flick my controller's like stick repeatedly to get out of a stun. I hate that mechanic. But like, it makes sense why it exists to some degree, doesn't it? A giant monster swats you in the head enough, you're probably going to get stunned by it. So to properly overcome the forces of nature that the game is providing as a challenge, you have to do your homework. You have to do the proper steps to put yourself in the best position to overcome that fight. It's a balance. It's a rhythm. You have to keep your weapon sharp. Do you go in for a big combo, but maybe a weapon is going to become a bit more dull because you haven't sharpened it in a while? So maybe the play is, instead of capitalizing and putting in a bunch of damage there, backing up to sharpen your weapon or put some more distance, because weapon sharpening without a skill can take a while. Maybe it can stack up some skills that reduce the stun buildup or just stun duration in general. If I'm fighting a giant T-Rex that utilizes fire, maybe using a freaking Rathalos switch axe that has fire maybe is not the smartest idea. So maybe I should also make a thunder switch axe so that I have variety, which is what I ended up doing, making use of the tools in my inventory. If a monster's flying about the place all the time, I can use a flash bomb to blind it and force it to, fall to the ground, and then I can capitalize on that. One of the elements of Monster Hunter that I've absolutely fallen in love with is utilizing the environment to my advantage. For instance, in the Wildspire Waste, there's quite a few monsters that will charge you, but in certain locations, there's giant rocky pillars I can have them, hi Diablos, charge into, and they get stuck, and they get stunned for a little bit. I can capitalize on that. Maybe I need to go back and heal, or maybe I need to go back and sharpen my weapon, or I can capitalize if I'm already in a good position. I can just do some damage. Maybe an enemy's tail is causing me a bit of grief. Maybe I should focus in on that tail to cut it off. I am then rewarded with new and more resources because of doing that. There's a flow, there's a synergy between all these different scattered elements of Monster Hunter, because it's trying to instill a pace, an atmosphere. It's not just about running and gunning, it's not just about tanking and spanking, it's all about taking your time, doing your homework, and putting yourself in the best position to overcome these fights. And it's kind of funny because if you've ever interacted with like a FromSoft community, a lot of the times it can be kind of looked down upon and frowned upon to utilize a lot of in-game tools to overcome these challenges. It's with a whole meme about going in with only a strength build and just bashing your head fight against something until it falls comes from, largely. But in Monster Hunter, the opposite is true. You're meant to utilize all these different and scattered tools the game gives you, to utilize all this prep work, to gather as many buffs and abilities and benefits as you possibly can to put yourself in the best position to overcome the top of the food chain. And there's some elements to that that quickly clicked with me. Getting better gear. I play a bunch of RPGs. I understand that. I was getting one-tapped by a high-ranked Diablo, so what did I do? Upgraded some pieces of my gear, and I no longer got one-tapped. But like the biggest problem that I've been having is having the patience to do all the other stuff, to get into the flow that the game is trying to make me play. If you want to play the game, boy, you have to learn to play it right. Funnily enough, it's one of the things I'm actually really looking forward to in regards to Wilds, the fact you can have two weapons at the same time. So what I would probably do is have a really slow weapon and a really quick weapon. Like say Switch Axe, but I pair it alongside dual swords. That way at the start of a fight, when I need to be reactive and I need to have plenty of time to dodge the enemy and these various attacks, and I'm not in a position where I can consistently stagger an enemy, I can have a quick weapon for those periods of time. But once I, pump enough damage into a monster and it starts to stagger a bit more often, I can then swap to a slower weapon and really capitalize on that phase of the fight. If I just slow down my pace of play and I just slow down my way of thinking and I get out of this tunnel vision of just trying to focus down the monster and trying to kill it and pump as much damage per second as I possibly can, I think a lot of this game will really start to fall into place, and these fights that I once found to be a bit challenging will start to fall over rather effortlessly. It's just I have to reorient myself out of this mindset that I've put myself in from a bunch of other games and figure out how Monster Hunter wants me to play. It's my biggest weakness when it comes to this game, is just getting the patience to stop and do the procedure that I need to do. Make no mistake about it, this is a me problem, not a game problem. Monster Hunter doesn't play like any other game that I've played before fully, outside of like maybe The Witcher. But even then, there's far more emphasis on pre-battle prep here. And there's a bunch of things that I can do. Continue to fix my inventory. Utilize different items and crafted items to my advantage. Be a bit more diligent in regards to weapon sharpening. And while the game does have a timer for these fights, the time is largely irrelevant. If I do die to a fight, what I need to do, instead of just running straight back to it, I need to continue to prep. There's a reason the fight, or not the fight, but the game spawns you back at camp instead of right next to the monster. Because my mind's like, why do I have to run all the way back to this monster? Just let me back in the fight. I want to keep going. Why are we doing this? Why are we wasting my time? Well, it does that, so I have that distance from that fight. I can then prep, I can eat, I can collect resources, craft other things that I need. I can possibly set traps, or do whatever I need and then get back into the fight, and that's a mentality adjustment that I need to do. Because make no mistake about it, I am loving this game. It's just a bit of a learning curve. And are there elements that I do not like about this game? Yeah, the roar mechanic is like overused and getting stunned for so long. I just generally dislike mechanics that take control away from me. I just mostly find them annoying. I get why they exist in Monster Hunter, I would just like them toned down a lot. And yeah, there's some skills you can use to do that, but like my points still kind of stands for me. It's personal preference. But yeah, with that, I think I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. The Get Good arc for this channel continues. And I guess this chapter will be learning to be patient. Stay safe. Leave a comment down below with who your favorite fight is in Monster Hunter overall, and what game does it come from. I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions, and hear your perspectives, and to hear your stories. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.